Welcome to this video on playing social poker with family and friends on Zoom. My name is Miles O'Reilly. Our social poker group has played Texas Hold'em for about once a month for very many years. But however, when COVID-19 arrived, of course, we couldn't meet up to play. We then devised a way to continue to have an enjoyable social evening playing poker. The purpose of this video is to show how your group can do this also. A few preliminary points. First, by definition, you need to have access to Zoom either on a laptop, a tablet, or a PC. A host who needs to have Zoom Pro will schedule the meeting. In many cases, two players or a couple share the one screen. Each player should ideally be able to see the other players on the screen. The second point is that each player needs 4 items. The first one perhaps is obvious. It's a pack of playing cards like these ones I'm holding up here. The second item that is needed is money, coins, and these could be about €5 or $5 or £5 sterling in coins. As well as that, you need a tin or a box, which we call a container, for the money. And finally, you need a betting bowl, and I'll explain that in a moment. Thirdly, each player needs, or each group needs to have a scorer, somebody who will keep track of the scores as we go along. And this is a member who will record on a spreadsheet each person's losses and one person's win, the sum of the losses after each round. Okay, we come now to the playing rounds. The dealer deals the first 3 cards from the pack onto their table. For example, these 3 cards here and the dealer then calls out the cards individually and shows them on the screen. For example, the 6 of spades, or 6S, the 3 of spades, or 3S, and another spade, in this case, a king of spades, KS. Each player records on paper details of the 3 cards. For example, I do it like this. Okay. Each player then deals the first 2 cards from their pack to themselves. So we now come to the betting stage. Each player now has 3 cards on the table and their own 2 cards. The first player in the sequence after the dealer bets an amount to play. The other players place their bets. All money bet is moved from each player's container to the bowl, and any player can increase the bet if they so wish, as is normal in poker, and the other players must match this if they wish to continue playing. Players can opt out, or as they say, fold them at any stage. The dealer then deals the 4th card, calling out the card and showing it on screen. Again, there's an opportunity to bet. Then the dealer deals and calls out and shows the final, or 5th card. And betting continues and is concluded then when all of the betting has been finished on the 5th round. So the remaining players then show their cards, and one of the players wins the pot or round by having the best hand. So the normal rules of poker then apply, and our group has printed out the order of the winning hands, which determines which is the best hand in case of argument, and has solved many issues. We then continue with the second and later rounds. So the job after each round, the players call out their losses, and that is the money in the betting bowl, and the scorer enters the amounts on a spreadsheet, something like this, on their laptop or PC or on their tablet. Each player then moves the money in their betting bowl back to their container. Using the spreadsheet, the cumulative position of each player's gains or losses can be given by the scorer during the session and at the end of the session or evening. The amounts won or lost for the session can be carried forward from one session to the next. There can be a settlement at a time or times of the group's choosing, with the winner receiving payment from the losers. Our group settles up at Christmas. Some additional points. We found it is best if the playing sequence is the alphabetic sequence of the first name of each player. All players must shuffle and cut their playing cards prior to each round. When the dealer is calling out the cards, each player can have a second pack with the cards in sequence. For example, here, these cards are in sequence by suit, and the player can extract the cards called out by the dealer and put them in front of themselves. The players using this method can then see the table cards as if all the players are meeting together. Because of the use of multiple packs of cards, which is quite different than a normal game of poker, it is possible, although not very likely, that two players will have the same hand. For example, if there are two tens face up on the table, part of the 5 cards dealt by the dealer, more than one player could have 2 tens in their hand. If this happens, then the winnings of that round are shared amongst the two players, 2 or more players who have the same hand. Just a word of caution, naturally this system gives opportunity to cheat because you can't be watching what the other players are doing, so only play with persons you trust. It's a social game, not a gambler's game. Just as you will find, there are some additional advantages of Zoom poker. You may feel aggrieved that you can't meet up due to COVID-19, but think of the advantages. No one needs to get supper for the group. You can have a drink because you will not have to drive home afterwards. You won't have to bring a gift for the hosts in whose house you're due to meet. The game can be played even if the weather outside makes it difficult to drive there. So we hope that you and your family and friends enjoy this game. A final note about a subscription to a charity. If your poker group or adopts this method of playing social poker, we ask you to make a once-off payment of €20, which is about $24 or £17 sterling for your group. Of course, not for each individual player, for your group, so it's a small amount per player. We want the donation to go to an Irish registered charity that trains and provides guide dogs for those who are vision impaired and for the families of children with autism. This charity does great work and many persons have benefited from its services. If you donate, you will receive a receipt by email. Forward this receipt to me, and then I will send you the text of this presentation, a copy of the Excel spreadsheet with the formulas for recording the gains and losses, the order of the winning hands. Now, the charity, as I say, is the Irish Guide Dogs Association. That's its home page, and the website is shown here, guidedogs.ie, guidedogs.ie. My email address is myles, myles, @orc.ie. Very many thanks.